Hi, I'm Brad Knowles, producer of Friday Night Flies, hosted by Scott LeBoldus and Scotty Holmes. Enjoy the show.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dana with Friday Night Flies. I'm new to the show, so probably none of you have any idea who I am. But the guys reached out to me and invited me to be part of the team, and I'm pretty excited to get tying on the show. I'm from the interior of British Columbia, Nelson to be exact. I do a lot of fishing locally to Nelson, but also get over to the East Kootenay way and fish a lot of rivers and streams over there. I'm pretty much 99.8% a trout guy, lots of dry flies, nymphs, stuff like that. So seeing lots of traditional trout stuff from me. Today we're going to be tying this little guy. Let's see if we get some focus here. Which is kind of just one of my plays on a copper john. So let's switch over to the vise and get this started. All right, made it down to the vise. We'll be tying this on a size 12 nymph hook. It's 2 times long, a couple times heavy. 3 times heavy, 2 times long. 7/64 or 2.7 millimeter tungsten bead. And since I don't like fishing with split shot, we always do a little wrapping with some 0.15 lead wire. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's catch it with my thumbnail there, twist it off. Push it up into the bead. This is something I do that's probably a little less than traditional, but I like to take just a pair of crappy nail clippers to clip the lead wire off clean. Just make sure it's pushed down and in place there, snugged up. We'll be tying with UTC Olive 70 denier. Start it right behind that lead. Give it some wraps to get started. And then you want to come back up and just kind of create a little bit of a dam there. And then wrap through this a little bit. Doesn't have to be crazy. That dam's going to really keep it in place for us. Keep trapping that tag in for a little bit. Cut the tag end off. I like to really keep unwinding my bobbin on this fly so this thread stays flat as possible. I will take it to basically where the barb would be. I have no barb because I would cut it off and then wrap it back just a little bit. At this point is where we're going to deal with our olive biots. I find that it actually is worth it to pay a little bit more for the good ones. They tend to have that natural curve more than other ones. I find that sometimes the cheap ones don't get that splay in them that everybody talks about. So again, as with most traditional flies with biot tails, we're going to want to put them together and get that natural splay away from them. I'm not super advanced. I don't tie them in together. So one at a time. The length, I've never thought about it, but it's about half of a shank of a hook. And a trick that I always use is you get it positioned and then you actually want to position it slightly, this one kind of like on the top a little bit, just a tiny bit, because as you take the thread wraps are going to pull it over the shank a little bit. So not too much, just a little bit. And then I just do 3 to get that one in there. Then we'll take this second one, if I can get it off the table. And same thing. Keep in mind that this is going to, the thread's going to carry it the opposite way. So this time we're going to turn it slightly down a little bit on the shank. Match it up with the other tail, slightly down. 3 tight wraps. And then just take it back towards the end of the hook or the shank. These aren't perfectly lined up. I still can't do it perfect every time. I get lucky on the odd one. We're going to cut these biots off close to where it meets the lead. And I can kind of see that my lead has done something a little silly there, so I'm actually going to just get it out of there. I should be able to wiggle it off. There it goes. Again, trying to keep this flat, thread flat when possible. And we don't really have to make a ramp yet. So now that we're at this point, our next step is going to be 2 pieces of UTC ultra wire. We're doing 1 piece brassy and copper brown, the other piece brassy size in sculpin olive. I've already cut these to lengths. And by length, I mean longer than what you think you're going to need, because it makes it easier to work with. So matching them right on top of one another. I tie these in on my side of the hook. You're going to just put the ends right to where the lead wraps were and capture them there and just work back towards the end of the hook. You want to leave a little bit of a space. You don't want to tie all the way back to the biots because it makes it easier for that first wrap to come over if it's not squished all the way back up. Now at this point we're going to wrap back up, and now this is where we're going to want to make sure we have that really smooth taper up to this part of the fly. So you can build it up a little bit, and you do want to kind of build a little bit of a taper here. Once you're happy with the contour or the ramp, again, really spin that out. Spin it nice and flat. Keep spinning it. Keep spinning it. And you get it, all those, see that, how wide I've made that thread? Maybe not. Hopefully it's tight enough. Or the camera shot's good enough. And that's where you can really smooth that out. So we'll take the thread up to about a bead's length behind the current bead. This time we actually want to turn it up so we get back to a rope. And then we'll take this wire and turn it over. And you can see why we didn't wrap all the way down to the end. It makes that first wrap super easy. And now we'll just keep wrapping forward, touching wraps. Keep lots of tension on this wire. Just over and over. Right to about there. So this one, we'll actually pull it up and out a little bit. Just like to throw the bobbin over 1, 2, 3 times. Little tug, nothing too tight. This is only 70. You'll snap this stuff pretty easy. And then I like to go over a couple more times. Really just locks it in there. And then when you have 2 pieces of wire, helicopter is not always the easiest. So back and forth a couple times tends to work for me. Come on, here we go. Okay, next material is just, this is dark olive scud back. You use thin skin or whatever your favorite wing casing material is. This is the 1/8 inch stuff. Just gonna lay it flat on the back, bring it up to about there. Just into the wire, just a tiny bit, maybe like 2 millimeters. Sorry, I don't have the conversion of millimeters to inches. My American friends, you're just gonna have to do that calculation yourself. So at this point, we got that secured in. Next material, here's your ice dub brown. Like to lick my thread because it's gross, but it helps to keep this dubbing nice and tightly on there. So create a little dubbing noodle, and we're all just gonna do this one. We're not gonna get too far ahead of ourselves. We just wanna make kind of a little ball right here at the back. So just keep wrapping over top of this one section a couple times. And you'll see why in a sec. And then take a thread wrap or two right in front of that dubbing ball you just made. Next material, ring neck pheasant tail. Got one out of the package already. So we're just gonna take this and go, I usually grab between 10 and 12. And you can see how you just take her down, pull it straight out. Gets all the tips aligned, and then you can grab it with your other hand and with your scissors. Just cut her straight off. So we'll take those tips. They don't have to be all perfectly aligned. It is just making legs. And they can be a little bit crazy or a little bit out there. So I'm gonna do this on your side first. So pointing it down in that space. Don't worry about the length right now. So we're just gonna take one wrap, two wraps, snug it up a little bit. And then I find it easiest if you can grab these at the same time. And you're just gonna kind of pull them to length. And length is subjective. Somewhere in there. And we're gonna do that fancy process one more time. Grab, I don't know, between 10 and 12. You don't have to count. So whatever you feel looks the best. Again, pull them straight. Grab it with your other hand, take your scissors, cut them off, grab them. Again, down at an angle, pinch it with your one thumb, a couple of little wraps, grab this bunch, and pull it to match the other side you already did. Somewhere in there. Maybe two real nice snug wraps. Then we're going to come in here with our scissors, cut off as close as you possibly can, which depending on your scissors is going to be either super close or not very close at all. Mine's kind of somewhere in the middle. And you guessed it, more dubbing. Back to the same dubbing. This time we're gonna just pack a whole bunch of this stuff in here. Probably slightly more than what you think you need, and my suggestion is to not do these noodles super tight. And the reason being is because we're going to pick it out here in a second. It's gonna help make even more legs and make it extra buggy, which is obviously a key to catching fish. Buggy flies. Okay, it's kind of got crazy in the front. Don't hesitate to turn up some craziness, but make sure you don't do anything silly like cut your thread. Last step is to pull this scud back over. Try to get that thread positioned right behind the bead. One over, nice and snug. I like to pull it up and try to get it to seat down behind the bead there. Once you've done that, that's gonna lock. Even with one wrap, that sucker's locked, that scud back is locked right in. I'll go maybe one more over top. There. For some reason my fly is on the wrong angle. At this point, we're just gonna grab this, pull it tight, run your scissors over there, cut it off. Give this a little spin to make sure it ropes up. Whip finisher. 1, 2, 3 is lots because we're gonna pop a thing of UV resin on the top, which is gonna lock it in there no matter what. Thread off. Hopefully you guys out there have some better resin than I do. This is kind of a joke. This is some janky stuff from Canadian Tire, but you know what? It's better than nothing. Get a nice little ball on there on the top. Make sure you cover the thread wraps, lock everything in place. Hit it with the light. Doesn't take much. I'm a little bit crazy. I don't know why I cut those off. And the last part, pin, this is just a regular old sewing pin. You probably can use whatever dubbing brush, toothbrush, popsicle stick with some Velcro. You've seen it all. I like to get in here and precision pick. You're happy with your dubbing picking, just pull it down a little bit, see if you got anything crazy along. Actually, this one's not too bad. And you know what? That's it. There she be. There is your little Copper John variation with picked out dubbing. Nothing crazy. Didn't reinvent the wheel on this one, but you know what? She looks good. She looks buggy. She catches fish. So we'll take her back up top and I will sign out of this video. So that's it for me, boys and girls. Hope you enjoyed that one. I'm actually going to send that fly off to my buddy Jake. We're doing a fly swap. Apparently he's way ahead of me. He literally just messaged me and told me he's only got 5 more to do. I think I've done 3. I think we're only doing 20, but I got a long ways to go. But that one's for him. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you learned something or got some value from that. I'm going to do some more. Lots of nymphs, lots of dry flies. I got a couple recipes for some bull trout streamers that I've come up with. In particular, one that my brother actually caught his first bull trout on. Fly that I'm not gonna say I invented it. It's probably been tied before, but it's something I kind of came up with on the vise. So I'll show you guys that one eventually. Yeah, anyways, thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.